cool. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. My struggles with alcohol and a long, long list of other things. My name's Riley. Many of you all know me, and if you don't know me personally, you've probably at least seen me here most every Tuesday night. But many of you do not know my story. So I'm blessed to get this opportunity to share it with you tonight. My story is a story about how God has worked in my life, not a story about what I have done or what I deserve, but a story about God's prevenient grace and guiding hands in my life long before I ever thought of turning my life or will over to the power of God. I've never thought of myself as a good speaker, but sometimes a story is worth telling. So no matter how it's told, I hope someone somewhere can get a little bit of something out of this. I would like to start with some words from the New Testament's favorite guy in recovery. In the opening of 1 Corinthians, Paul says, "When I first came to you, dear brothers and sisters, I didn't use lofty words and impressive wisdom to tell you of God's secret plan. I decided that while I was with you, I would forget everything except Jesus Christ and his crucifixion. I came to you in weakness, timid and trembling. I did this so you would not trust in human wisdom, but in the power of God." That's from 1 Corinthians 2, 1 through 5. I do not deserve to be here. If I would have gotten what I deserve, I would be in prison or I would be dead. The only reason I'm here tonight is because of God. Like many of these CR testimonies, I grew up in church, and I actually grew up in this church. My parents have been active members here at Fountain City United Methodist for 30 plus years, and growing up, we rarely miss a Sunday, and we're heavily involved with church and youth group all the way through my high school years. I had a great childhood. Every family has its little issues arise, but we always seem to get through anything that was thrown at any of us. My parents raised me the right way. I may not have always necessarily been the best at listening and executing on what I learned, but they have shown me incredible support through everything I've been through and everything I've put them through. And they've been a great tool that God has used to work in my life and a great example for me. But back in those days, I never really had a real relationship with God. Through the years, I did get pretty good at going through the motions and giving people the answers they wanted to hear. And don't get me wrong, I have plenty of stories of the dumb stuff that I did in my high school years and a lot of poor decisions. They really kicked off in my college years. I got out of the house, away from home, and I got away with more and more and more. I graduated high school in 2015, and I went on to chase my dream of playing football in college. Before I get too sidetracked, I was a long snapper. I wasn't like a real college football player, if any of you guys are football fans. But I did play at a couple different smaller mid-major Division I football teams. But during those times, that's when my character defects really began to develop. Everything from my drinking habits to just how I generally treated people around me. In hindsight, I can see many of my habits and hang-ups can be tracked back to one major flaw in my character. I always played God in my own life. In my head, I was in charge. I was steering the ship. I was making all the calls. I wasn't looking to anyone above me. As one of my really good friends in recovery always says, I wasn't playing God in my life. I thought I was God's boss. What started as just a little bit of innocent college fun developed into heavily drinking and constant partying. And as I always seem to do, I continued to push and get away with as much as I possibly could. Drinking way too much, too often, spending a lot of time in places I shouldn't have been, and going home with any girl that would let me. This lifestyle continued, worsening through the years, getting to the point I was hiding my actions from friends and family, sneaking around, constantly lying, and even lying when the truth was better a lot of times. At no point in my life would I've ever, told you I was an atheist, but there are definitely points when I was definitely not a true believer. I never was opposed to Christians. I just thought, people living the Christian life, good for them. Like they're out there. Even if there's not this light at the end of the tunnel that they all think is out there. What's the harm in living your life that way? And that's how I felt. But and at this time, I don't really know why people stuck around me. I was not really a positive addition to much of anyone's life. I got in a cycle of manipulation, getting what I wanted, pushing people away, and then bold-faced lying about the whole thing to anyone that would listen, causing more pain than anything. The drinking kept getting worse, getting to the point when I started, I could not stop till I was blacked out. As my buddy Jason always puts it, when one's too many and 1,000's not enough. But my arrogance and selfishness made me believe that I could do anything, and I had the invincible feeling that many 18 to 22-year-old men are known for. There are many nights in my life I can't remember. So many times that I woke up in shambles thinking, how did I get here? Sometimes, where am I? I never had to look too far to see my truck parked outside. And simply trying to laugh off the situation, constantly making jokes so that I wouldn't have to face my actual problems and struggles. Over the years, I've put so many people in danger, friends, family, and so many others. And while I was in graduate school, on January 25th in 2020, I was driving home from a college bar in Conway, South Carolina. I was involved in an accident that would change many lives forever. My complete selfishness and reckless behavior directly led to an innocent man losing his life. I have very little recollection of that night. I woke up in jail where I learned that I'd been kicked out of school, fired from my job, and then later learned what I had done. I learned that it wasn't just a single vehicle wreck, that there were others involved, and that I had caused this awful thing. After a few days, my family bailed me out of jail, and I was lucky enough to come home with them as I awaited trial. During this time, I secluded, pulled away from everyone. From the start, I tried to handle this situation like I'd handled everything else in the past. I went right back to trying to take control of the situation, trying to play God. How I always looked at it was, I got myself into this mess, and I was going to have to be the one that got myself back out of it. And I didn't need any help from anybody else. And I didn't want any kind of help from anyone, not family, not friends, and definitely not God. This is the way I went on dealing way, way too long. This time in my life had done nothing but make me sad, secluded, and pathetic. I did more feeling sorry for myself than I did anything else. I got a job. I started working to try to repay my family financially and still tried to keep my distance emotionally from everyone in my life. The first 7 months after the accident, I was court-ordered to wear an ankle monitor that monitored my alcohol. And so after the pandemic had pushed back my court dates multiple times, something happened in the court, and I got to go ahead to have my ankle monitor removed. So I'd still been very much struggling at this point, just on day-to-day with everything. And but up until this point, I had not had the opportunity to drink any alcohol, and the accountability that ankle monitor had was gone. I had to be alone with nothing but me, my thoughts, and now I could control things again. So I decided that I'd already taken my last drink then. And the accountability, looking for a new form of accountability, I walked into CR North on September 15th of 2020. We were out there in the front lawn. If you guys remember during COVID, right when it came back, we were still doing it out in the front lawn. And so Seth and others have been trying to get me to go to CR and, take the first steps to helping myself for the last 7.5 months before this. But I was still in that place in my life where I was just trying to handle everything on my own. And I didn't want their help. And God had made a few different changes in my life, and I finally found the end of myself that Seth's always talking about. God gave me the clarity that I would not be able to do this thing alone. On the front lawn where I picked up my blue chip, and you could definitely say, again, I'm going to use another Jasonism, I had the jelly legs that night because I waited till about the 6th time they offered the blue chip to finally raise my hand and take one. But at that point, I became a Tuesday night regular, working on living my life one day at a time. I saw what people had in CR, and I wanted that too. CR is exactly the thing that I needed at this point in my life. CR has been such a refreshing form of church and Christianity to me. There's no judgment. Everyone involved has come to the same realization that I did, and that is that we've tried it on our own, and it doesn't work. And so we came here as broken people, and so we help each other because we know that not everybody has that realization, and that's one thing that I think is really special about CR, and especially this place. So I joined the next CR step study that was offered. So next time there's a step study, you should do it. It's awesome. Just plug that for Seth there. I would look back later and say that it was one of the very most important decisions of my entire life. I truly committed myself to the step study. I got a sponsor. I worked the steps. And again, like I said, that class is one of the most rewarding things I've ever done in my life, creating bonds with others people that you walk in are complete strangers and you know everything about them, and they offer that up to you and you offer that up to them, and it's just a special thing. And we learn with one another how to live this new life of recovery through God. During my first step study class, we were on step 10. I got the news that my court date had been set over a year and a half after the accident. This was an act of God's prevenient grace. Without COVID, my court date would have been much sooner, and I would not have been nearly as equipped to handle whatever the come of this situation. I had come to terms with the fact that I would get what I deserve. Actions have consequences, and it was coming that time for everything to come to a head. So that was about a little over a year ago. I said my goodbyes to my friends at work. I called and had long conversations with many of my friends and family, extended family, and talked about things I'd really never talked about with some of those people. And then got together with my Tuesday night men's chemical dependency group and my step study class at the time. And they both those groups prayed for me and wished me luck and sent me on down. And then me and my, like I said, incredibly supportive parents loaded up and set out for South Carolina. I went down to South Carolina last August to get what I deserve. And God has a different plan for my life. On August 11th of 2021, I walked into the Horry County courtroom having to face my past, having to remember my selfishness. I had to stand in front of the judge and look at the family members of the victim of the accident, the people that I had taken so much from. family was devastated by the accident and wanted to pursue the maximum possible punishment for my actions, which I did not. I agree. If I was in their situation, I would do the exact same thing. That's all you can do. And come the day of August 11th, that was not the intention. The closest relative to the victim was his older sister. She addressed the court that day, saying that over the past 18 months, she had had a change of heart. As she prayed about the situation and talked with God, she had decided that the only way to handle the situation as a believer was to forgive in a way that God forgave. She addressed the judge and requested that I serve no prison time. She believed that if I could share my story, and if I could even stop one drug or alcohol-related death, then it was worth me keeping my freedom. Amen. I should not be here tonight with you guys. God's grace is truly amazing. As Christians, we talk about God's grace a lot. We share examples of grace and mercy and how God is constantly working our lives. But this example is truly an incredible way of showing us what he can do if we just ask for his help. God used this woman as an incredible tool. The woman that I had taken so much from, he used to change my life, and hopefully through the years, many more lives. So after the court, I was able to make some amends with her and other parts of the family, and do some of the other step work through the step studies. But this story doesn't end here. It's not a story about how horrible I used to be and how great I am now. I don't be like that. Although my life is drastically in a better place, I still struggle every single day. The more layers I peel back and the further you get into the steps, all you guys have done the step classes, as you guys know, the further you get in, the more struggles you see, and the more struggles that come up in your life and things that you didn't know you struggled with, reveal themselves. But now I don't have to do this alone. Celebrate Recovery has given me structure to deal with my issues and talk to friends, mentors, and God. I do not have to deal with things on my own anymore. I have so many people who love and support me in my life. So many good friends from the past, friends from a lot of great friends here at CR, a lot of people that I texted this past week and showed up tonight for CR. A lot of people, there's a structure. I have something there to lean back on now, and a support system. And even a beautiful girlfriend that I was able to make amends with after not treating her the right way in my past life. So I'm incredibly blessed beyond how can I express to you guys. Seth is always talking about finding the end of yourself. So this story is about how God pushed me to the end of myself. I fought the whole way, kicking and screaming. I wanted everything my own way, thinking I was smarter than anyone, especially or even him. If you're fighting your way down that road tonight, I just want you to know you don't have to either. I'm not saying that taking a blue chip tonight will make your life perfect or even drastically better right away. But all I know is that I wish I had a long time before I did. God is waiting on us, ready to be everything you need. All we have to do is ask. Thank you.